Hello and welcome to our second edition of At Home Around the World, where we try to give you an inside view into international youth work around the world. My name is Robert, and together with my colleague Daniel, I'm hosting this session today.
So, hello from my side. My name is Daniel, and I have the honor to welcome our friend and colleague Edgar Schlümmer from Estonia. He's the director of Estonian Youth Work Center based in Tallinn, and he has participated and developed youth policy and youth work in Estonia for more than 18 years. And he's one of the producers or founders of the smart youth work concept. We will discuss that later on. He's a father of 3 kids, and I heard he's a big fan of the German football team, and he has also German roots. Welcome, Edgar. Hello.
Hello, everybody. Guten Tag.
Thank you. Edgar, maybe you could introduce your institution briefly and tell us something about your objectives and tasks of the Estonian Youth Work Center.
Estonian Youth Work Center, the governmental institution acting under the Ministry of Education and Research, which is historically responsible for the youth policy and also youth work, in addition to the science policy, education policy, and also language. And this is an institution celebrated last year 20th anniversary. It was created in 1999 together with the first youth work law back then, and was created to be a competence center in youth policy and youth work, to work for its development, for the service design, service development, for the monitoring of the situation of the young people and also the youth field, for the quality assessment, for development the models for quality assessment of the youth work, and also advising and how to use that for the service providers. Also to give an input to the policy making for the ministry, to coordinate and support the networking in the field among the youth centers or hobby schools or youth camps or working workshops or youth organizations or youth participation institutions and so on. And also was created for managing all the state programs to support youth work. In Estonia, it's a decentralized model, so the municipalities are responsible for the youth work, but the state, via some extra money, try to guide and support some extra services to kind of ensure the development all over the country.
So Edgar, maybe you can show us where you are located in Estonia, so that our watchers can see where your organization is based.
Let's try screen sharing. I hope that you see now the Google Maps.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And it's in Estonian because localization, but Germany is here. When is my mouse cursor is right now, and Estonia is a beautiful country around the Baltic Sea, not around, but near the Baltic Sea, let's say so. We are situated in the capital. Tallinn is medieval town, quite famous history. And I try to show you some beautiful places, because hopefully when the crisis is over, colleagues and friends from Europe would like to visit Estonia, and I make you a small promotion. Let's try how the system is working. Yes, okay, we got on the place. So this is a Rathausplatz, or where the Christmas market was held. It seems that it's a picture from the last winter, which was actually not existing. Maybe a couple of days minus couple of degrees, but usually green +10. We had even colder days this spring than during the winter. So it's very nice place, very good preserve the old city. And if you come from old city after your lunch in Rathausplatz, you're just walking through the very beautiful places over here. Just go further to the city center, so-called. You can find our institution. So we have to follow this road because it's made for the cars. I try to do it quicker. So this is still places to visit, good hotels, bars and cafes and restaurants. Also Irish pub somewhere here to look for football games.
So we did really a time traveling now. Huh? This is not the Christmas market time anymore. We can see now.
It's really interesting how and when the pictures was taken, because we came from the winter and the next street it was the summer. Actually, it's almost like it was during the winter.
It's quite empty. The streets are quite empty, so it's maybe the same situation as the last weeks, isn't it?
It might be. It seems so that this is already kind of very pictures from maybe a couple of weeks. So some of them are new. So, and then this is a National Library, very interesting architectural building, and a lot of stuff going on in there. Not only books, but a lot of conferences, and we use it a lot also. One of the it's not seen churches over here. And we're now approaching our new office. We situated together with the ministry. This is this building over here. If you can see, this is also quite old one. Our office before, for many years, also with the ministry, was just behind this building. It's about 150 meters, and now we moved in this one. And this is somehow connected with the COVID crisis, because previously, many years ago, it was a hospital. So basically, I'm now sitting in the doctor's room, where I have an office, and a grandmother of one of my colleagues working here, and when she have seen when he granddaughter working, she said that, oh, it's the place I was working when it was a hospital. Then it was a Ministry of Justice for quite long time, and now we are situated here. It's actually in the city center, approachable from airport, harbor, bus station, so always welcome.
Very nice. Thank you, Edgar. That was really great to see where you are. And maybe now you can tell us a bit your work, let's say the normal working situation before the crisis. So maybe give some insights of your institution, like how many people are working there and what do you do in the normal times? Just to give us an impression and feeling what it is like to be in the Estonian Youth Work Center in normal times.
I show you some very short video for introduction, how we left before the crisis and what was happening almost every day we came to work. We just gathering together, discussing, listening to the minister. Always I'm on stage, of course. And we're listening to people, we're talking, we're discussing, inviting young people, some relaxed moments, always with, again, young people, kids, youth workers from around the world, and of course the celebration and the cake and a lot of fun, I would say. this was live before the crisis, but this particular video actually shows our one of the big events last year in December when we celebrated the 20th anniversary of my institution and also of the youth field. As I was mentioned at the beginning, in 1999, the youth work law was established or came into force, and actually it was quite important beginning to start development very systematically the youth work and also the youth policy in Estonia, which actually brings us to some results. Last year we got, for instance, the Gold Award of Youth Policy from the World Future Council. So, but yes, life before was connected with a lot of trainings, as we are responsible for the networking. We gather people together to share experiences, to show what we know, what we have seen abroad in Germany and other countries, what kind of cooperation we have with different partners, what kind of topics. So we did a lot of trainings and a lot of meetings. So we're coordinating also the municipality work. So we try to support the officials in the municipalities responsible for the youth issues to help them be more aware of the general situation, to help with the strategic planning, with the budgeting, with all of this stuff. We also support a lot of services directly. We're financing the services for on the local level. For instance, support services for the young people not in education and employment. We are responsible for design of this service, for analyzing of the service, how to amend that, and also we're financing the service to be accessible around Estonia or in the cities and places where the amount of young people in need is quite high. We gather with the young people as we have a lot of support measures for the youth participation, for instance, for the youth parliaments on the local level. And also we have some direct services. Usually we more dealing with the youth workers or the other policymakers in the other ministries. We have some joint programs with the Ministry of Interior, Justice, or Social Affairs, among labor issues, employability, health issues, also security matters, and so on. But we're also responsible for some direct services for the young people. For instance, we are supporting the ideas of young people, so-called bank of ideas. We're giving money for the youngsters, for groups of youngsters, and also mentoring them to come up with idea and do something with their hands,
so that
and
really,
so on and so on.
Really sounds a bit like everywhere youth work in your country is also based, or was based really, on the face-to-face contact towards professional youth work professionals and towards young people. So the big question now, of course, in our times is, how did you cope with the COVID-19 situation in your country, with the shutdown, with the not possible situation of meeting youngsters or meeting youth work professionals? How did you cope with this situation?
Fortunately, we are quite digital state, and also really it was mentioned that we started to think on digital issues or a little bit wider even before. So we are authors of the smart youth work concept. We brought on the table during the presidency of the European Union in 2017. So we considered that according what young people did before the crisis, they are online, they are quite growing up with a cell phone in the hand. Most of the young people, let's talk about this part. So we consider that the youth work as something which always near the young people. They try to deal with the situation young people are in at the moment. We realize that we should invest in in smartness. I mean, we should more support the creativity of the youth work. The smart youth work means also to be a kind of startup thinking, to look always for the new solutions, contact-based or virtual-based, and so on. So we start to develop this, and of course, the big part of the being smart is also using using technology into getting young people situation, knowledge about that, and also use of technology to provide the services or to develop the services. And in that way, mentally, we were quite ready for the crisis in terms to go online. But of course, physically, it was not there. Most of the contacts, most of the work was really, as you mentioned, contact based, and maybe some very kind of needed solution like use information or some other things was done online as okay.
Yeah.
And during the crisis, actually, during the first week, we did a big plan. We thought that next 5 years or 10 years, we should invest a lot in training and everything to achieve the digital revolution in the youth field. And actually, 1 week of the COVID crisis made it itself.
Yeah.
All our
I think
institutions.
basically the same situation here and everywhere in Europe. And as you said, the smart youth work concept is also really based on evidence and on data. Maybe you could share also some experience or data how young people were acting or feeling in this last weeks of the crisis. Do you have something like that in Estonia to give us an impression how the life was for young people?
Absolutely, I show just to some one of the solution we developed with the Board of Statistics of Estonia. It's called the Management Board of Youth Monitoring of Youth Statistics. So this is data aggregated by Statistics Estonia and also kind of different registers and different other data communication between each other. And here we can see the situation of the young people in general, and we develop a lot it together with the Statistics Estonia also to make possible to use the big data. Still now, this particular example is working with the aggregated data via different registers or someone. So you can combine it, how the hobby schools and unemployment or something else in different regions or all over the country are situated. So this is really we are working on, but we still have a lot of steps to go. But according to the situation during the crisis, of course, now a lot of research is taken on that issues. Our universities and partners studying how the distance learning affects young people. We also did a lot of, not a lot of, but quite plenty of short research and interviews among young people, how they feel, what they need, how the situation is. And also we are taking now also a little bit long-term research on how youth centers, for instance, dealing with the situation during the crisis, during the COVID crisis, and now after this situation when we come into the economic crisis for some period. Again, and a lot of research is going on, but to tell you some summaries from the previous situation, young people, especially teenagers, said that they feel that mental health is something which was affected. Again, logically, they said or answered that they felt very much they needed a lot to meet friends physically. They used to meet friends. They used to hang out, and online solutions was not maybe always the best they can use. So they were in need of meeting friends physically and being part of the group. This is one thing. Another thing with the mental health, of course, being together with the parents all the time. There is a two dimensions. One positive dimensions, more time with parents and so on. But with the families with troubles, uh, not having the private space for their own was mentioned a lot. So you cannot even do whatever you like, even behind the screen, when everybody's sitting in like meter distance from you. You cannot speak maybe aloud about your problems. You cannot take the consultation of psychologists via a screen because your parents you maybe would like to complain about is sitting over here and listening to you. So mental health was an issue. One issue was also how to report or how to find the young people in trouble, in need. During the distance period in schools, we lost 1,000, a little bit more young people. Nobody get in contact with. So this is a question how you can alert that you need help when again you are in situation that maybe you have a domestic violence and this person who beat you is in front of you all the time. You cannot get out of the room and you cannot report about that. So how to solve this kind of situation? And also a little bit older young people, they were concerning already about the working. A lot of questions because the young people heated first. They working in the sectors like tourism, like also food services and so on. They were heated by the crisis first, and they was very afraid of the situation afterwards. And the new topic actually came up with these health issues, with this COVID crisis itself, that younger people, they said that they are afraid of what can happen with their relatives, that they are afraid that somebody can die, and then and they can be guilty in that if, for instance, they communicate with the grandmothers, grandfathers, and they might spread the virus. So this topic was also really came up in that terms that the fears, the new fears. Usually, you never think about that in ordinary situation.
And
but this is a problematic issues. But actually, if we count, I think if we not take the economic crisis, which just starting and going, but we look on how this COVID period positively positively affected the development in the youth field, I would say that we got more positive side than negative side.
so how is the situation right now? I mean, the COVID lockdown is or is opening slowly probably in your country as well. Since when?
We have a quite okay situation since 18th of May.
All
We
right.
have no special situation anymore. So, and we're slowly releasing the different things. But now, if we speak in June, 9th of June, the swimming pools and spas and hotels are open. The cafeteria are open. Shopping malls are open. They were actually open already in May, in the middle of May. The shopping centers, I think. I mean, the schools are actually open from 15th of May, but according to that now today is actually last day of schooling officially. Most of the schools decided to continue on distance way, so it was no reason or doesn't matter to
But
come
there,
to school for a couple of weeks.
yeah, but there are
Uh,
still restrictions, aren't there? I mean, if you go to
uh,
school, it's not normal school life.
yeah, Yeah, it's not normal school life. There is a restriction of how many people can be in one classroom. It's not more than 20, or if it's not allowed to for being in room more than 50%. I mean, if room is for 30 people, it maximum is 15 might be in. Kindergartens actually was open during the crisis all the time. This was a kind of emergency service, also for the people, medical staff or police or wherever they should put kids somewhere. So the kindergarten was open, but it was dealing with the parents, if it's possible to not bring kids back home. Hobby schools, youth centers are allowed to be open from 15th of May, but again with the restrictions of 20 people gathering together at also 2 meters distance. And mostly our youth centers prefer to be outside. Also for summer, we had launched some special measures to support some projects to kind of increase activities during the summer. And summer camps and also workshops we have during the summer, they are allowed with some restrictions. Again, not much than 300 people and so on. But actually, somehow in that way, it goes to the normal life. But of course, a lot of thinking logistically, how to organize activities, even if you have a camp and 160 people as before the crisis, how now you organize it in the way that the groups of young people not uh, contacting with each other, how to do a common fire place evening with marshmallows, to not contacting each other or sitting in a big distance and whatever. So there is a kind of normal thing, but a lot of uh, figure out how to actually do it securely. And this is something new in that way, that you have to think not only the contently how to make it more fun or interesting, or more development for the young people, but also a lot of these technicalities and logistics.
Um, Thank you for that. Maybe now we go a bit in the future, and maybe you can give us some briefly some examples what you did online and what you're planning. I mean, for all of us, the small digital revolution during the crisis was a bit not predictable, but some of us used it as a chance, and you did a lot of good projects. Maybe you can give us one or two examples. And then the questions also from the audience now is, how is it to be like in Estonia after the crisis? What are your plans? What are you doing, or what you're taking out of this situation now for the future?
I try to be brief. We have a lot of examples, but of course we have not enough time to speak about everything. But I first of all I will tell that our organization, my organization, we have 30 people. It was also the questions, and we always uh, working on remote. Before that, half of our institution is situated around the country on the remote in the home offices. But also for us, it was a new situation. Like all 100% of the people should be working at home. We did a lot of we moved a lot of our stuff like training or meeting online using Zoom and Teams and other solutions, of course. And some of our procedures we also moved online. For instance, one big thing before the during the crisis, usually in spring, is occupation licensing for the youth worker. We given licenses for the youth worker working in camps and generally, and usually it was contact based. But we actually did a revolution for a couple of weeks together with some enterprise in Estonia, that all of these licensing exams, evaluations, control, virtual identification of yourself was made online. One is in Estonian startup called Verif is providing the services of virtual identification for banks and other stuff. And actually, together with us, they opened the service for free during the crisis, also for the public institutions. So we could identify the person in distant way, for instance. This is how we did some our services also being more up to date. Yeah. Our youth centers actually reacted very well. Most of the centers actually went online. I just share for 1 second the screen about one example of Roblox. They built the center in Roblox, which is quite famous among young people, also younger ones. And they established this center to, you can see it's quite similar to real one. And youth workers provide the services over there. There is some consultations, some play, and so on. And actually, they reported that they achieved the young people who actually didn't attend the physical center, and they actually started to attend the virtual one. And this is this kind of solution. Another way, Facebook, another channels, all of the youth centers went online. Quite interesting solution. Another thing, what we have seen, and I'm not sure what happened, the amount of mobile youth work was actually increasing. So the young people being in the closed down, they needed young youth workers to communicate, because one important part of the youth work is being face to face together with a trusted person. Amount of mobile youth work, young youth workers went out on the street, meeting young people and explaining the virus thing, but another way doing youth work with all the masks and stuff was increasing. And we see that after the COVID, when young people get out of the rooms, they actually need for this kind of support, and the mobile service will increasing. Youth centers moving out on the lake, on the rest areas, to the parks, to be as close as possible to the young people outside of the room. Our hobby schools, music, art, sports, dancing, robotics, different kind of things, they started almost immediately with the video trainings. Trainers sitting at home did tennis, aerobics, whatever else. So the kids who attending these trainings or other ones, it was quite open, made the trainings, for instance, at home. Our youth organizations, they invented a lot of challenges outside. For instance, how to play chasing game, not meeting anyone in the forest. Our Scouts Association made digital hiking and so on. So quite a lot of interesting things, and of course all kind of advising services. It was challenge for them, because a lot of advising on mental health is also expected to be with a physical person, vice versa. But also our institutions who is counseling young people on mental health issues, on career, they figure out their own secure solutions how to get in touch with the young people to provide advice. And actually, what was reported that most of the institutions, they actually, thanks to this crisis, they continue to use these solutions, as we have a lot of remote areas, and not maybe youth workers available everywhere. They have to travel from one city to another. In hobby schools now, for instance, they are already continue video lessons, and they continue it also in autumn and so on. So a lot of positive things will go on.
So if I understood you right, you think the crisis created also opportunities for youth work in Estonia and also youth work in all Europe. I mean, your concept of smart youth work inspired many people in Europe, and as you said that many things you were trying out or invented in Estonia could bring also good ideas to us. What would your advice would be for German youth work field? What could we learn from you, from the experience you had and you were just talking about?
I would say that everybody should learn from their own mistakes. So I definitely don't want to answer in the way that learn from us do like that. But maybe I just briefly point out some lessons learned we figure out. So it might be similar to German situation or another country situation who watching us right now. But maybe it just also gives some ideas for the others. We figure out the one topic we're dealing, but not really succeed yet. Also on European level and also national level is the recognition of the non-formal learning. We do a lot. We do a lot of projects, but still in Estonia we don't have. We have a legislation on that, but we still don't have systematic approach and systematic recognition. It's still based on kind of how you relate with the school headmaster or wherever. But during the crisis, this topic got final approved, and now the educational field looking for new solutions how to make them more flexible to recognize what the young people learning in the youth work. Because what was the situation that young people was overflowed by learning in the school, and actually quite plenty of things was actually similar to something they do as a hobby activity or as a youth work. So for the sport lesson in the school, you should do some jumping, and evening you did the jumping for the tennis training. But the school didn't accept this jumping for the tennis. But I mean, why? And the young people reported that they are they have no time for anything. So if it was adult people were afraid of young people walking on the street and hanging around and not dealing with the crisis, but young people just didn't have time to do anything, just learning. So, and this is something, and also the teachers, they use the different platforms and so on. So what we learned that, first of all, there should be some centralized platforms, because if teacher discovering 5 platforms and suggest it to you as a learner, but you have 10 teachers, so as a learner you have to use 50 platforms. It's not okay. So it should be some centralized view for centralized solutions and so on. Then recognition of the youth work or non-formal learning. You don't have to do same things in the different settings. You can combine it. This is the one important thing. Another thing is that we have to think how to reach young people who have no digital solutions or who live in the families with a problem and they cannot report on them via telephone because they have no credit or because they are sitting home supervised by violent parents. So how, together with the private companies, we should think of reporting, because maybe one possibility to get out of the violent environment for the young people during the crisis was to go to shop, and parents was counting the time. So maybe this shop, this seller is one point in the future to be trained how to react or on the situation if the young people say that I'm buying now the milk for my father or beer for my father, but you know I have a lot of problems. Please report somebody to help me. I live here and there. So you know a lot of these kind of thoughts. Then we have seen that the minorities need the information in their language. We have a Russian minority, quite big one, and if in general situation is kind of in normal life, you can manage with Estonian language, and young people have time to read, to respond, to participate. When it comes to very crisis, when you have to react very quickly, and you have to involve, and you have to kind of gather a lot of people as quickly as possible, you actually should communicate in their own language. So we reformed a little bit our information system and some other services to provide information for the young people also in Russian language in the way that how they understand it, because then we needed that they catch it immediately, not maybe some weeks ago when the situation is over. And the most important things, actually, we are very sad of that we have quite good situation with the youth participation in decision making. We have a lot of, most of the municipalities, they have a youth parliament, for instance. We have a youth parliament or counseling body in the Ministry of Education, in the Ministry of Environment. Young people from the organizations meeting the prime ministers from time to time to speak about the problems. But during the crisis, we almost don't know any case when young people from the youth parliament or wherever was involved in the crisis commission.
Edgar, I think we've got a bit problems with the connection now. Anyhow, we are coming to the end now. So thank you very much for your input today in At Home Around the World, giving us this inside view into youth work in Estonia. I hope to see you again, maybe in half a year, so we can have a look back on what had happened after the Corona crisis. Thank you very much for being with us today, and see you next time.